Hello, everybody, and welcome to this rehearsed reading of The Climbers, the first event of Spark, Theatre by the Lake's new digital programme, which starts this evening and runs until the end of May. I'm Liz Stevenson, and I'm the Artistic Director here at Theatre by the Lake. And in the absence of audio description for this event, each of us on the call will describe what viewers can see on screen. So I'm a white woman in her 30s, wearing a grey jumper, and I'm sat in the empty auditorium here at the theatre, joined at a safe distance by a masked technical team who, with the support of the rest of our staff, have done a sterling job of adapting our Spark programme to make it an online programme. This is the first time we've held a digital event like this, though. So despite a breezy rehearsal this afternoon, we may have a few hiccups here and there, but hopefully that will bring some of the joy of live theatre to your living rooms. Now, we had been prepared to open our doors in February, and we were so excited about welcoming you all back to this wonderful space. But with everything that happened over Christmas, of course, our plans had to change. So whilst we continue to prepare for the reopening of the theatre, we've embraced the opportunities that a digital Spark programme has offered. We've been able to bring on more freelance artists, spark new ideas, new partnerships, and invest in new work, bringing a little bit of Theatre by the Lake to you in your own homes. I'll tell you a little bit more about what we've got coming up later on. We'd love to hear what you think about tonight, so do get in touch via our social media channels at TBT Lake on Twitter and on Facebook. So, on to this evening's rehearsed reading. Last summer, we were due to produce the world premiere of Carmen Nasser's play, The Climbers, as part of our summer season. This week, a group of actors from up and down the country have come together over Zoom to read the play so that Carmen and Guy could hear it read aloud and continue to develop the script. And I can't tell you how excited we are that tonight we're going to share the first half of the play with you. And I'm delighted to be joined now by the director, Guy Jones, and writer, Carmen Nasser. And as if by magic, there they appear now. Carmen, Guy, welcome. Thank you so much for all the work you've been doing on The Climbers. Would you introduce yourselves, please, and tell us a little bit about what we're going to hear tonight? I'll go to Carmen first.
Hi, everyone. I'm Carmen Nasser, and I'm a playwright. I'm a white and Middle Eastern woman. I have a short, dark bob. It's growing out. I need a haircut. I'm wearing a brown and black jumper, and I've got a plain white background. I'm in my very small flat in East London. I just kind of want to say that I'm really privileged. I feel really privileged to be able to share Act One of this play with everyone at a time when theatres are closed and a really difficult time for our industry. So just a really, really big thank you to Guy, to the cast, to Liz and the whole team at Theatre by the Lake for making this happen and making it possible, and for everyone for logging in and watching. So thank you very much. Over to you, Guy.
Hello, everyone. I'm Guy Jones. I've directed this reading. I'm a man in my 30s. I've got a terrible lockdown moustache, and I've got not enough hair on my head, and I'm in my study in South London. And yes, just to echo Carmen's words, it's a real privilege. This is one of my favourite theatres, and I wish I was with Liz. But it's been lovely to be in a Zoom room with all these wonderful people. So thank you for having us.
Oh, thank you both. Now, after the reading, we'll be running a short Q&A session where we can chat a bit more about the play with Carmen and Guy, and we'll be joined by the actors too, who will join me now on screen. Yes, there they are. They're coming now. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Theatre by the Lake. So good to see you all, and thank you for being part of our first rehearsed reading of the Spark programme. Can you all introduce yourselves, please, and tell us what character you'll be reading this evening?
Okay, so my name is Amy Forrest, hello, and I'm playing Gwen. And behind me, I've got a white plain wall. I have long, very long brown hair and a white kind of beigey, baggy jumper. And I'm a woman in my 30s.
Hi, everyone. I'm Icky. I'm playing Turing Sherpa. Currently locked in a cupboard in South London. I have a black bushy beard with long overgrown thick hair, and I'm of Indian heritage and incredibly good looking. So they will matter. And yeah,
Hello, I'm Kat, playing Yasmin. I'm a white woman in my 30s with blonde hair, and I've got a very plain white wall behind me, and I'm wearing a green comfy fleece.
Hi, I'm Mark Graham. I am a white man in my 30s wearing a black jumper with black curly hair, and I'm in my spare room in Hull, which has a bit of a blue wall behind me, but I'm not sure if you can see that because I've got a bright light quite close to my face. And I'm playing or reading Charlie tonight.
Hello, I'm Olwen May. I'm a white woman in my 50s. I'm playing Charlie's mum, and I also have curly hair and a black jumper, so we're perfectly matched. And I have a big blanket behind me in my study because it's full of my old accounts and stuff back there, which I didn't think anyone would want to see.
Hi, I'm Wendy. I'm a East Asian woman. I have very long, very straight hair, and I'm wearing a black V-neck jumper. And I'm sitting in front of a very dull wall. And I play Connie.
Fantastic. Thank you all so much. Now I'm going to let you all have a moment to prepare before we start. And that's enough from me for a while. So please sit back and enjoy the first half of The Climbers.
The Himalayan mountain range. The mountain just before dusk. As the light changes, the mountain starts to project itself onto the sky. A giant shadow of the mountain rises above it, becoming its mirror image. Yasmin, in full climbing gear, enters. She's exhausted, disorientated, close to collapse. She stops. She turns around to look at the mountain. When she sees it, she breaks and falls to her knees. A storm rages. It engulfs her. A shift. A room in a hotel in a small Nepalese town, the closest one to the mountain. It's basic and plain. There is a bed, a table, and a chair. There is a small window through which the mountain range looms large. Connie stands near Yasmin, who sits on the chair.
I know you're upset.
My husband fell off a mountain. Pretty gutted, yeah.
I'm so sorry, Yasmin.
Right. Thanks.
Would you like something hot to drink?
No, thanks. I've been offered about 500 cups of tea this last couple of weeks. I can't stop pissing.
Well, take it back then.
Take what back?
The offer, the tea.
Oh, all right then.
Sorry. The altitude. It's weird, isn't it? It feels like I'm on some sort of delay. I guess you're acclimatized.
It's not high up enough for that.
Oh, right. Silly me. Well, maybe it's jet lag then. Do let me know if you change your mind, by the way.
About what?
About the tea. I was only joking before when I took back the offer. Sorry, not the best at jokes.
It's all right.
Or small talk, in case you hadn't noticed.
Are you going to ask me?
About the tea?
About Charlie?
I was trying to get us warmed up a bit first. I know it's not easy talking to a stranger.
It's not hard because you're a stranger. It's hard because he's dead.
At this point, he's missing, not dead.
So what does that mean?
Connie's phone rings. She takes her phone out to check who's calling. It slightly flusters her. There's a hesitation.
Sorry about that. Oh, I forgot. Jammy Dodger.
No, thanks.
I thought it might be a comfort. And something from home. Here, have one.
I'm all right, thanks.
Charlie is still technically missing.
That's absurd.
There's no body.
The phone rings again. It's vibrating. She fishes around for it.
Sorry.
You can answer your phone, you know.
Oh, it's fine. It's not important.
I really don't mind.
At this stage, we need to gather as much information as possible.
Look, sorry, I don't think I'm ready.
It's all right, Yasmin. We have plenty of time. We can just sit here a while if you want.
Actually, can I have a coffee? Tired.
Of course. Yeah, of course. Great. I'll go get one. How do you take it?
It doesn't matter.
Sure.
Connie exits. Yasmin waits a few moments. She gets up from the chair and sits on the floor back against a wall. It feels solid, like it will hold her grief. She sobs loudly and briefly. It's from somewhere very deep down. She stops and composes herself. Connie's phone vibrates. Yasmin looks towards the sound and leans over to look at the screen to see who the caller is. It eventually stops ringing. Connie returns with a coffee in a styrofoam cup.
So, it was a 4?
Excuse me?
He fell. Your husband? You said it was a 4?
Sorry. I'm not quite following.
Look, I know that all this is very upsetting. But memories, they change and fade. It's important to talk as early as we can.
Can I have one, actually? Yeah. Can I have a biscuit?
Oh, of course. Please, here. Have more than one. Have the whole pack.
One's fine, thanks.
Well, I'll just leave them here.
On the way down, we got lost. There was a storm. He was struggling. We slept in a bivouac, a hole in the snow. Next day, we carried on. We were both weak. Then he fell. He fell a long way, and that was it.
Thank you. I know that was hard.
It was like he fell for miles.
It's not impossible. Charlie's still alive, Yasmin.
You can't be serious.
His family are still hopeful, and we have to respect that.
I'm his family.
Have you spoken to his mother?
Briefly.
You need to talk to her again. Tell her exactly what happened. She's confused. She's holding on.
I keep dreaming about her.
His mother?
She stands at the end of my bed and she looks out at the mountain in her nightdress and she says, my poor boy. His broken body tucked into the rocks in the nooks and crannies of that horrendous mountain. And one day,
One day, when the glacier melts, the little tiny pieces of him that are left, his bones, like pebbles surrounded by the tide, are soft and powdery tide of snow. They look like the bones of a baby gazelle, not a man. And one day they'll stumble down in a tremendous avalanche of snow and frozen water, blue and wild and raging. And only then I'll have my boy back. I went to sleep a happy mother, and an hour later I woke up childless. Who will love me now?
Yasmin had a dream. She wanted to stand as close as humanly possible to the sun. Yasmin climbed her first mountain when she was 10 in Switzerland on a family holiday. When she stood on the summit for the first time in her short life, she felt a sense of peace. She spent the rest of her life trying to replicate this feeling. Charlie? Charlie loved nature. He loved nature ever since he found out that otters hold hands when they sleep so that they don't drift apart. Charlie climbed his first mountain aged 16 on a subsidized school trip to Scuffle Pike. Although it rained every day, to him, it felt exotic. On the summit, he couldn't really see anything through the drizzle, but Charlie had never felt so alive. Charlie spent the rest of his life trying to replicate this feeling. Sharing Sherpa climbed his first mountain when he was 15. He spent the rest of his life climbing mountains so he could make enough money to stop climbing mountains. I love nature because it is the only thing in the world that cannot be tamed. But that doesn't really matter because this isn't my story. The mountain has many names. In 1857, a geographical survey conducted by the British Empire named it Peak 15. Legendary climber Edmund Hillary repeatedly called it the Bastard. In Nepalese, the mountain is referred to as the goddess of the sky.
A shift.
Do you climb?
Me? Oh no, never.
That's good.
What does that mean?
You wouldn't make it.
Oh, cheers.
I mean, you'd make base camp.
Well, that would be more than enough for me, thanks.
But I bet you'd be a dragger.
What's a dragger?
The climber that slows everybody else down.
Ouch.
I'm just teasing.
What kind of climber was Charlie?
Charlie?
Was he a dragger?
No, he was in good shape. Yeah, so Yasmin too.
Did they have the right experience?
Just about enough.
And what about, mentally?
Well, that's hard for everyone.
What about for them?
Honestly?
Please, speak freely.
They weren't ready. Not, emotionally.
What makes you think that?
I climbed the mountain 7 times. I think I know these things.
7 times. That's very impressive.
You would think so, wouldn't you? If I was an American, I'd be on Coca-Cola bottles or modeling watches on billboards.
Connie's phone vibrates.
Sorry, do you mind if I... Hello? No, I'm not coming to pick you up. You have to do what they ask you to do, okay? I'm very busy right now. It's very far away. No, you can't walk here. Don't be silly. You'd have to cross oceans and forests and jungles. No, I don't think a canoe will do. I'll call you later, okay? I've got to go, right? Bye. I'm going to put the phone down now. Sorry.
Family.
Yeah, Never stops. How were you separated?
There was a storm. They lost me. I lost them.
And what did you do after you lost them?
What did I do? What else could I do?
Well, tell me exactly what happened.
On the way back down, Charlie couldn't stand alone for more than a few seconds. Yasmin and I had to help him. We had to hold him up. We were all moving like slow motion. It was dangerous. The storm was getting worse. And then I saw someone else just ahead of us. I heard their footsteps and I walked. I thought maybe they could help. I told Charlie and Yasmin to wait. I walked towards this other climber, but no one was there. When I turned back, Charlie and Yasmin were gone. I called their names again and again, but nothing.
What was the last thing you said to them?
I don't know. I can't remember. I probably told them to wait, that I'd be back.
You sound a little unsure.
In the death zone, your body starts eating itself. Time and space disappear. It's impossible to remember what really happens up there.
Charlie is still up there. And his family need to find him. They need to find his body.
I've seen them. The ones that can't be brought down.
The bodies?
At night, they walk around looking for food. They come to the tents.
I'm afraid I don't believe in fairy tales.
Neither do I.
A shift.
When people arrive on the mountain, they already have their story written out in their heads. But as you walk on, the mountain tells its own story. Just like the mountain's story was overwritten by the Europeans, the mountain overwrites the stories of the climbers. Everyone has their own history of the mountain. And this is mine. 470 million years ago, in warm tropical waters off the Eurasian coast, millions of little crustaceans lived and died and lived and died and lived and died over and over again. The tiny shells of these marine invertebrates sank to the bottom of the sea, disintegrating into sediment like ocean confetti. And then, a few more million years later, the landmass that is now India, which had been floating for millennia and millennia, finally crashed into the edge of Asia. A collision so violent that the earth shook and buckled in on itself. A crash so humongous. 2,400 kilometers of mountains emerged in its fury. Like a giant scar running all the way from Tibet to Kashmir, all the heavy rock was pushed back into the Earth's mantle, and the lighter rock, the limestone made of millions of sea creatures' skeletons, was pushed all the way up to the very peak of the mountain. A huge foaming rush of lobsters and corals and sea urchins and sea snails and mollusks and oysters and baby crabs. This tsunami of 400 million year old fossils finally settles, forming the final pyramid of the summit. And then there's 40 more million years of silence. The death zone has always been an ancient tomb teeming with the very stuff of life.
A shift. The south of England. Charlie and Yasmin's house. They're in the kitchen. Yasmin is cooking dinner. Charlie sits at the kitchen table with a book.
You know that summer, what's his face guy?
Howard Somerville,
Yeah, that's the one. Doctor.
surgeon. Went up twice with George Mallory, 1922 and 1924.
Why are you such a swot?
He never made it to the summit, you know.
Well, did you know on one of those climbs, right, he actually coughed up the whole mucous membrane that lines the throat.
Oh, Charlie, we're about to eat.
Right, the membrane, yeah, like the throat lining, basically froze and started to literally tear away from the inside of his throat. Like fucking rank that is.
That's awful.
And as it came away from the sides of the throat, it became like a solid object jammed in his airways, and he couldn't breathe properly. He couldn't breathe, and he panics. He starts coughing, this horrible hacking cough. He's coughing, and he's trying to get it out. And then he panics even more and starts thumping his chest with his fists. And then he thumps really hard, and out it comes, rips right off the inside of his esophagus, tearing off layers of flesh as it goes. Anyway, the whole like frozen, jagged mucous membrane eventually falls out, covered in blood, onto the snow. Can you imagine the pain?
I don't want to imagine the pain.
Imagine the layer of your throat being ripped off.
Yeah, thanks, Charlie. I got it.
And not only that, not only is your throat all ripped and raw, you're all alone in the middle of a glacier, shitting yourself.
Can you stop with the gross stuff, please?
You love hearing about all the gross stuff, really.
I don't. Well, all right, I do. Well, a little.
Got plenty more if you want.
Thanks. I've had enough for one evening.
It's like pre-climb catharsis. Just great. What is that?
Nepalese curry. What?
You're so pretentious.
I'm not. I'm globalized. It's not my fault. And also, you know, because we're celebrating.
Celebrating what?
What do you mean celebrating what? Paying the deposit, getting on the expedition, fulfilling a childhood dream? What's wrong with you?
Spending all of our life savings?
Mainly my savings. So yeah, you can shut up and celebrate.
Is it ready? I'm starving.
Don't forget to call your mum. Let her know the dates. Don't keep putting it off.
You mean so you can start bragging?
Just don't want her finding out on Facebook or something tragic like that.
She's going to kick off.
You're 38, Charlie. It doesn't matter if your mum's going to kick off. Christ, you two are ridiculous.
You know what I mean.
I know.
She worries, that's all. She's a worrier.
But she's not a worrier. She's a nag.
That's not fair. She's not a nag.
And she'll get over it. Well, maybe not. She does like to hold a grudge.
All right, go easy. She's just old and emotional.
Like you.
What the hell's that?
Nepalese beer.
This is so cheesy, Yasmin.
It's not cheesy. It's just, you know, it's a sense of occasion.
You're so embarrassing.
To the mountains.
To the mountain. This is great, by the way. Why don't you always cook like this?
Why do you always have to ruin a compliment?
Guess what song I heard the other day?
I don't know. What song? Oh, God, this is great. I'm such a good cook.
Guess.
How am I supposed to guess a random song in your head?
That Italian song?
What Italian song?
When we first met. Karaoke?
What karaoke?
Oh, come on. How do you not remember? Hostel Bar in the Dolomites. That night. At the bar. You serenaded me.
Oh, that song.
I can't remember how it went. It was like uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Yeah, I did not serenade you, as if.
You liar. You did. You were all over me. With your eyes.
I did not. I was just singing karaoke. I wasn't serenading you, creep.
You'd been giving me the eyes all the way up the mountain.
No way. You had the hots for me first.
That's not true. You made the first move.
Stop making shit up.
We had our first snog that night.
Did we?
You don't remember?
No.
Slag.
What's brought all this on?
I heard the song somewhere the other day. Brought it all back. How'd it go again?
Oh, hold on. I remember it.
Yasmin goes to the laptop on the table. She's searching for the song. The song plays. She grabs her fork off the table and uses it as a microphone. She mimes the song. She's serenading Charlie. She remembers every word. She dances for him and is 19 again. Charlie watches her affectionately. Halfway through, he gets up and dances with her. It's short-lived. He goes back to his seat at the table.
It's such a good song. I'd actually forgotten it existed.
How the hell do you remember all the words?
Just do. It's weird. It's like muscle memory, but in my mouth. Oh God, I've got the best idea. We should do karaoke in Kathmandu to celebrate and honour our 19-year-old selves who never believed that they'd get to the actual top of the world. Apparently there's loads of karaoke bars there.
It's not guaranteed we make it to the top.
It better be, with how much we're paying them. And stop being so on edge, it's annoying.
I'm just, managing expectations.
Well, you don't need to manage mine. I'm a fully grown adult woman, and I'm going to make it to the top, just like I've dreamt of doing since I was like 10. And no one wants your bad vibes right now, Charlie. Can we just enjoy this, please? Okay, what's wrong?
Nothing. Okay. Listen, I really don't want to hold you back.
Hold me back from what?
Getting to the top. Maybe I just don't want it as much. It's enough for me to just be on the journey, together, you and me.
Don't be silly.
We should agree, make a pact.
A pact? What, are you 12?
Like, worst case scenario, if one of us can't do it, or if...
Stop being weird. This is the fun bit. Can we just enjoy it, please?
If something goes wrong, and if one of us can't go on, if only one of us is able to carry on...
Charlie, don't say that, please.
I want us to agree. To promise.
This is so unnecessary, and it's all like weird, bad vibes now. Well done. Cheers.
All I'm saying is that I think we should agree in advance.
This is so uncomfortable.
We need to agree on what the other person would do if faced with that decision, that situation.
Well, I don't know. What would you do?
Carry on. The other person carries on, saves themselves. No use in two dead people, is there? Yasmin?
Just not very nice to think about, is it?
Please do this for me. It's the only thing I've asked for.
I don't know. I mean, I can't just decide now over a bloody curry.
Just be honest. First instinct. What would you do?
Do we have to do this now?
What would you do?
Okay, me too. I'd carry on, save myself. There, happy?
Now let's promise.
Seriously.
Oh, come on. Just for me. Say I promise. Come on.
I promise, Charlie.
I promise, Yasmin.
A shift. Connie is in her hotel room. It's the middle of the night. The mountain glows blue and illuminates the room. She's in bed, woken by a phone call.
No, can't visit tomorrow. I told you I'm away. Not a holiday, I'm working. It's very late. It's not the afternoon here. It's very far away, so the time is different. It's called Nepal. No, it's not in Dorset. You'd love it here. The mountains are huge, like giants. And at night, they glow. Usually blue, but sometimes pink. You could walk for days here, Mum. It's all right. Don't be scared, Mum. Please don't be scared. It's all right.
A shift. Connie sits on the bed in Yasmin's hotel room. Yasmin sits on a chair.
What were the arguments like at that altitude?
Arguments?
Okay, well, maybe that's a strong word, but I mean, you must have bickered.
Everyone bickered all the time. Climbers tend to have a lot of opinions.
Do you have a lot of opinions?
About what?
I don't know. Technique? Strategy?
Not really.
Why not? You strike me as being quite assertive.
I don't know. I guess we weren't the most experienced in the group.
Were you out of your depth?
No. There were just other people who knew more than us.
Do you think you were ready?
Of course we were. And anyway, it's dangerous no matter what level you're at.
What level would you say you and Charlie were at?
The right level. The good enough level.
And emotionally?
What does that mean?
Were you ready emotionally for such a big challenge?
I don't really understand what it is that you want from me.
Well, I want to understand why Charlie's still up there and how to get him back.
And you think that that's to do with emotions and bickering?
Were you and Charlie getting on?
You know, the truth is he walked away. Sharing.
Walked away? From what?
In the storm. He left us.
He went to get help and then he lost you.
Is that what he said?
You're claiming he left on purpose?
He said goodbye and that he was sorry and he left. He left me to hold Charlie up by myself.
And this is a really serious accusation, Yasmin.
Well, I don't blame him. Why shouldn't he save himself? Wouldn't you have done the same?
Connie's phone vibrates. He switches it off quickly.
Why do you keep doing that?
Sorry?
Why don't you want to speak to your mum?
Excuse me?
The phone rings again. She turns it off again.
I'll have to speak to Turing again now. Have you told Celia about this? Or shall I?
Can we just leave Celia out of this for now?
She's his mother and my client, so no, we can't.
Celia hired you. I thought you were some kind of official. You didn't tell me.
I did tell you.
When?
It was the first thing I told you.
You didn't. I don't remember.
A shift. Base camp. Yasmin is sitting down. She's hurt her toe and has taken one of her boots off. Charlie crouches next to her and they take it in turns to look at the mountain through binoculars. It's almost sunset. The light is overwhelming in its beauty.
That's the top there.
No, it's not. How can you even think that?
Oh, hold on, let me look again. Stop it, let me focus.
It's a bit awkward, don't you think?
What's awkward?
With all the porters, the Sherpas.
Why is it awkward?
I mean, come on, Yasmin, do I need to explain?
Well, why is it awkward?
Porters are doubled over half the time. They're climbing twice as fast as everyone else and carrying double the weight.
That's their job. They're getting paid.
All right, but still.
We're the ones having to pay to climb.
It's not the same, is it?
What do you mean it's not the same?
It's not the same if someone's helping you.
It's like a team effort. It's an expedition.
Well, it's not, though. Not when one part of the team is putting in twice as much effort.
What's your point, Charlie?
My point is, it's not really the same achievement.
Of course it is.
It's a bit of a cop-out.
It's not a cop-out.
Well, we could never do it alone, could we? It's not the same achievement, and, it's a bit awkward, ethically, isn't it?
Everyone climbs with porters and Sherpas. Even, top professionals. Oh, I see it. Oh no, that can't be it. Why is it so hard to find?
Here, look. You see that ridge?
Which ridge?
Okay, I'll hold a photo up next to it on my phone and I'll point it out.
No, people will see. Put it away. Then they'll be like, there's that stupid woman who doesn't even know where the top is.
I'm enjoying this so much.
Yeah, I can tell, bully.
She snatches the phone from Charlie and they both laugh. Chairing enters with a first aid kit and starts to bandage Yasmin's foot.
It's not too bad. You'll be fine by tomorrow morning.
Feels better already.
You know they're going to ask you to point the peak out before they let you go up,
What? Seriously?
right, Cherry?
Yeah, he's right.
Stop bullying me, both of you.
Okay. Look, watch my finger.
I see it. I see it.
Great. So now we know where the top is. Step 1.
Oh,
Tick.
wow. It's incredible.
The light.
I know. Thanks for helping me see it.
They stand hand in hand and watch the beauty of it all. Chairing has finished the bandaging and stood up and packed away the first aid kit.
By the way, you can't actually see the top from here.
A shift. Celia Harris's kitchen in England. Yasmin stands in the middle of the room. Celia leans against the sink. She's smoking a cigarette.
You're early.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's all right.
I'm never usually early.
No, you're not usually.
For once, all the trains were running perfectly on time.
They'll take your tea black.
Yes, no sugar.
I'll put the kettle on. Journey all right?
Not bad. Packed train. Lots of loud families, rowdy kids.
Bad parenting, that. Kids aren't born rowdy.
Guess not.
Well, you wouldn't know, would you?
Celia.
How are your parents?
They're good. Enjoying retirement.
Good for them.
They're actually in the middle of planning a road trip around Europe.
Are they? How quaint.
Celia.
I know what you're going to ask.
Do you?
Don't bother. I won't do it.
Well, it's not just up to you, I'm afraid. I'm his wife.
Not anymore. You're his widow now. I'm still his mother. Mothers don't become widows.
He was my whole family.
I gave birth to him.
I'm not going to compete with you, Celia.
Well, you can't have a funeral without a body.
Well, you can do whatever you want, really. There aren't any rules.
There's unwritten ones in this family. You were just never able to read them.
Well, Charlie and I had our own rules.
You're happy leaving him up there, are you? All alone on that horrible mountain. You're happy with that, are you?
We haven't got a choice. You know that.
Why not?
I've already explained it to you, Celia.
Why not? Why not?
It's impossible to carry a body down from there. It's physically impossible.
What about a helicopter?
They can't go that high.
Then we can't have a funeral. I'm sorry, Yasmin, that's that.
You're being absolutely absurd. I'm begging you, Celia. I'm standing here and begging you. I'm not leaving till you agree to this.
Kettle's boiled. I'll make that tea.
Thanks.
Pleasure.
Listen, Celia.
It's not the moon, is it? It's not like he's on the moon. It's just a bloody mountain. A big lump of earth and rock. Why can't we get him down, Yasmin? Why not?
I know it feels absurd, but people would have to risk their lives to bring him down. And even
Let them risk their lives. Why not? You risked your lives, didn't you? And for what?
I've really tried, Celia. I've exhausted all the possibilities. There's really nothing we can do. I'm sorry. I tried. I really did.
To know he's still there. I can't sleep. Can't sleep. Can you sleep, Yasmin?
I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Oh, love. Oh, don't, love.
I'm sorry.
Look, come here. Come here.
They embrace. They hold each other. For a moment, they yearn for each other.
I really need you to agree to the funeral, Celia. I can't go on like this. We can't go on like this.
He called me.
Who called you?
He called me. Charlie called me.
What are you talking about?
Yesterday on the phone.
No, don't be so cruel.
He called me, I swear.
He's dead, for Christ's sake.
He's still up there, Yasmin. He's still up there, and you've stopped looking. You've given up on him.
Stop it. You're being ridiculous.
Yasmin, please listen to me.
No, if this is some kind of sick
No,
game
the
of
phone
yours, Celia.
rang at 3 a.m. The home phone, that is. And no one rings the home phone anymore. Hasn't rung in years. In fact, no one has the number except the kids. They remember it from childhood, see.
I don't want to hear this.
Well, too bad, because it happened and you have to listen to me.
This is ridiculous.
I picked up the phone and it was just static. I thought I was dreaming. It was in the middle of the night, you see. And I says, hello, hello. And then there was this breathing. And I says, hello, who's there? Hello. I was about to hang up. And then, oh God,
Don't.
there was a voice at the other end, and it's Charlie's voice. A mother knows her own son's voice, doesn't she? Doesn't she, Yasmin?
Yeah, she does.
But you wouldn't know, Yasmin, because you're not a mother, are you? Do you know what he said?
No.
He says, Mom, are you there, Mom? And I say, Charlie, is that you, Charlie? He says, yes, Mom, it's me. Oh, Charlie, Mom, I'm here, Charlie. I'm so cold, Mum. I'm so cold, Mum. Oh, Charlie, please don't leave me. Please don't leave me here, Mum. Please, Mum, I'm so cold. Charlie, where are you? Where are you? And that was it. The line went dead. All I could hear was that sound. The sound of a dead phone line. Do.
A shift. Connie's room. Connie and Charing sit at either end of the table facing each other.
Did they argue?
All couples argue, don't they?
I mean, excessively.
No, they didn't. Actually, they joked around a lot. They were funny.
What about you? Did you ever argue with them?
You think I'd argue with a client?
Why not? It was a stressful environment.
We climb for money. They pay money to climb.
What does that mean?
It means we keep quiet. Don't complain. Don't argue.
Yasmin remembers the storm differently.
At 20,000 feet, sometimes you can't even remember your own name.
She says that you walked away from them. That you said you were sorry and then you walked away on purpose.
Of course she did.
She's accusing you of abandonment. Doesn't that upset you?
It's always our fault. You know, if they don't reach the top, if the altitude sickness kicks in, it's easy to blame the people who are almost invisible. No one comes flying across the world to ask questions when one of us dies. They told me they called climbing feeding the rat. When they didn't climb for a while, they could feel it gnawing inside them. I don't have a rat because it wouldn't have anything to eat. Actually, they did argue. Yes, once I saw her push him.
What kind of push?
She pushed him hard.
You sure?
I wouldn't tell you if I wasn't.
Connie's phone rings again. She lets it ring.
I'm sorry, it's my mother. She gets confused sometimes. Mom, what do you mean? Yesterday? Well, is someone looking for her?
A shift. Camp 1. The ice glows, the mountain growls. Yasmin and Charlie are lying down inside their tent. They're sleeping. The inside of the tent glows as the moonlight reflects off the polyester walls.
Charlie.
Yasmin?
Charlie.
Yasmin.
Charlie.
What?
Are you awake?
Yes.
Today was hard. Wasn't it?
Go to sleep.
Cuddle me?
I'm tired.
It was harder than I imagined it would be. Can I have a cuddle?
No. Go to sleep.
Please. Just quickly.
Okay. Come here.
Charlie. What if we can't do it? What if we don't get to the top?
It's the journey that counts.
No, it's not. That's what losers say.
Can you stop talking?
Do you hate me?
Christ, Yasmin, just go to sleep.
Do you hate me?
Why would I hate you?
For last year, for, leaving.
What's going on with you?
I have a horrible feeling. You know when you're a kid and you're sleeping over at a friend's house and then suddenly you're hit by this overwhelming homesickness.
What would make you feel better?
Bedtime story?
I can do that.
Were you really?
Happy or sad?
Happy.
Okay. Happy story. Happy story. Happy story. Go on. So, I read about this penguin.
What, like in a kid's book?
No, like an article in the news.
Oh, sounds dry.
I haven't even started, just give it a chance. When the penguin was a baby, it got covered in oil. There was a oil spill on the beach, somewhere on the shores of, I think, Brazil.
Is this about global warming?
No, just listen. So the baby was close to death, and its little penguin eyes could barely open, and its little penguin beak was sealed shut with sticky black gun stuff. Its tiny wings were so drenched in oil that it couldn't fly.
Well, it doesn't really need the wings though, does it? Because the penguins can't fly.
They use them for swimming and, flapping about in the ice, which is essential for their survival.
Okay, fine. Carry on.
Anyway, so the baby penguin is found by an old man, and he picks it up and he takes it home. He washes it and nurses it back to health, and the old man and the penguin become really close. The little penguin sits on the old man's lap and gives him kisses with its little beak. They're inseparable. When the penguin's hungry, the old man, he can sense it. In the same way like when mother's boobs start leaking milk.
That's kind of disgusting.
At night, when the penguin and the old man are tired, they lay their heads down, side by side on the same pillow. And months later, when it recovers, the penguin walks off into the sea and doesn't come back.
Oh no.
But wait,
Well, what happens?
almost a whole year later, the very same penguin walks out of the water and straight into the old man's house.
Oh, come on.
After that, makes the same 1,000-kilometer journey every year just to spend a few weeks with the old man, sitting in his lap, giving him kisses with his beak, and the old man says,
This is all true.
every word, and the old man says, I love the penguin like it's my own child, and I believe the penguin loves me.
Charlie,
Yeah.
I love you.
A shift. A karaoke bar in the closest city to the mountain. Connie sits at the bar alone. Gwen, a climber, approaches her.
I know who you are.
Do you?
You've been asking questions. Ruffling
Not
feathers.
tonight.
Day off?
Sort of. I'm winding.
With karaoke?
No, I've never actually tried it.
I don't believe you. Everyone's done karaoke. You're probably too drunk to remember.
You look like a climber.
Weather beaten.
Excessively confident.
Ouch.
Did you make it to the top?
Not this time.
How far did you get?
Turned back about 300 meters from the summit.
Why would you do that?
There's too many people. It's mayhem this year. A 3-hour queue in the death zone. No thanks.
Sounds grim.
Don't let anyone in these days. Is it your first time in Nepal?
Yeah, it is.
First time seeing her then?
Who?
The mountain.
It's hard to tell them apart, if I'm honest. There's a whole mountain range. They all sort of blend in.
She's pretty distinctive.
You know, I don't think I like mountains.
Controversial. Don't let the locals hear you say that.
Keep it between you and me then.
So, you don't like mountains. You've never done karaoke.
Am I boring?
You're a cool secret detective person. How could you be boring?
Can I ask you something?
Shoot.
Why do you do it?
What? Karaoke?
No. Why do you climb?
Oh, wow. How long have you got?
No, honestly, I don't think I get it. It sounds awful.
Well, you see the earth at its best and its worst. You see skies and sunrises that you just can't get over for the rest of the day. You see the snow sparkling in the sunlight, and it leaves a layer of glitter on everything that you lay your eyes on. It's like a dream. And when you get high, everything just becomes big and scary. I've been so cold that I thought I might lose my fingers, and I've hung onto ledges with tears rolling down my cheeks and pushing through a limit. It's like winning. And that flood of relief, nothing compares to it. It's like a love affair. It's painful, but it's thrilling.
Nah, not for me.
So, who done it?
No one. It was an accident.
I know. I'm just teasing. I saw him actually.
You what?
I saw him. Well, I think it was him. It wasn't pretty.
You saw Charlie's body.
That's his name, is it?
Yeah, it is.
Look, I saw a guy, a man. I don't know if it was Charlie. What's it?
Charlie Harris.
Sure, Harris. Blue climbing suit, yellow boots, mid-30s, male, white.
That's him.
He wasn't dead though.
What do you mean it wasn't dead?
Well, he was gone. He wasn't gone. I mean, not fully.
I assumed it would be instant, the fall.
A fall? No.
Well, he fell down a
He didn't-
crevasse.
A crevasse?
Whatever the technical term is, ravine, crevasse. You know what I mean, a hole.
He was sitting under a ledge, somewhere near a crevasse. Who said anything about a crevasse?
His partner. She was with him when he fell.
Blue suit, yellow boots, mid-30s, white male.
That's Charlie Harris. You're describing Charlie Harris.
No, but he was under a ledge, alive. Barely. There was nothing anyone could do to save him. He was mumbling. He'd lost it.
Did you stop?
What for?
To help?
It's suicide to stop. He was way past help. You're crazy to think if anyone would have stopped.
What was he mumbling?
What?
And what was he saying? What was he mumbling?
Well, how the hell should I know? You don't stop to have a chat with the lad, did I? I'm sorry, mate. I can't help you, but thought I'd stop for some small talk while you freeze to death.
You saw this man, Charlie, not in a hole.
He was under a ledge on the way down, somewhere between Camp 3 and Camp 4, I think.
Alive? Abandoned?
Alive. Yeah. I don't know about abandoned. Look, I'm not getting involved in any blame games here. He wasn't up to the challenge. He didn't make it. It happens.
Is that all you saw?
That's it.
Between Camp 3 and 4?
I think so, yeah. Did you know Charlie Boy then?
No. I'm here on behalf of his family.
You, one of those hardened detectives? Tragic backstory. Couldn't save the person they loved, so they go and do it for other people instead to fill a gaping hole in their heart.
Wow. I finally feel seen.
Mountains give you clarity. You should try it.
So I can put you on the record, Charlie Harris, that you saw him?
Sir, ma'am, detective.
Thank you.
Gwen.
Thank you, Gwen.
Can I give you some advice? From a hardened climber, I wouldn't go poking around if I were you. You don't want to bring up the dad.
A shift. A storm rises and engulfs them. Their glasses are blown away. Napkins fly in the wind. They are enveloped in snow.
The story goes that hundreds of years ago, when no one climbed to the tops of mountains and there wasn't even a word for summit, a young man was traveling through the mountains. And one night, when he was asleep in his tent, he heard what sounded like paws softly playing in the snow. When he looked outside, he saw a snow leopard. It lifted his paws up and down. It twisted and turned. It swayed and swooned. And then he realized that the snow leopard, it was dancing. He stood enchanted by this magical sight. Then he grew scared for his own life, and without thinking, he jangled his cooking pots. The snow leopard stopped and stared at him. And then it ran. For the rest of his life, The creature was like a visiting spirit. When he closed his eyes at night, the snow leopard danced for him. It visited him in dreams and in his nightmares.
A shift. Charlie and Yasmin are walking on the mountain. They're wearing down climbing suits, glacier glasses, and oxygen masks. They have helmets on with headlamps attached. They're walking very slowly. Charlie takes off his oxygen mask.
I feel like I'm on fire, Yasmin. I'm on fire, Yasmin. Everything's burning.
You're not. You're not on fire. You're cold.
I know, but it feels like I am.
We need to keep walking.
It's getting dark. We'll get lost in the dark.
The sun's still out.
It's starting to set.
Not for a while yet.
How do you know?
Just look at it, Charlie. It's huge and bright.
I need to sit down.
We can't stop.
Just for a few minutes.
No.
Do you have a banana?
No, I don't have a fucking banana.
I think if I had a banana, everything would be okay.
Oh, God, Charlie, please. We have to keep going.
A shift. Yasmin sits. She gets out a banana from the side pocket of her bag and eats it slowly and deliberately. A shift. It's darker now. The sun is setting. Yasmin and Charlie have their headlamps on. They're digging a bivouac, a hole in the snow to spend the night in. The wind and snow swirls around them. A shift. Nighttime. Yasmin and Charlie are in the bivouac. They're sheltered from the wind and snow. They're huddled together, arms wrapped tightly around each other. It's dark except for the light on their headlamps.
We can go down to the next camp tomorrow.
Where's the light gone?
It's coming back. We'll wait here for the light.
When will it come?
It's already on its way. On the other side of the world.
On the other side of the world, where?
I can feel it.
I want to go home, Yasmin.
Once we get to the camp, we'll get changed and go to the airport.
Will you have a bath with me? When we get home, we'll run a bath and we'll sit in it together like in the beginning.
In the beginning,
In the beginning,
there was you and me.
there was you
And me.
and me,
That makes 3.
me,
And
you.
makes 2.
A shift.
Wait, where's Sharon?
I don't know. We lost him.
We need him.
We don't. We'll be fine.
Do you think he's looking for us?
Probably.
I bet you will find us.
Sharing stands in a storm. He screams out for Yasmin and Charlie.
There's someone else here, Yasmin.
Don't say that.
Why?
Because you sound mad and it's scaring me.
There's another climber.
Where?
With us. Here in the bivouac.
No, there isn't, Charlie.
There is, you just don't want to see her.
Stop it, you're scaring me.
She's wearing green. She's been alone on the mountain a long time. She's really lonely. She says, don't worry, it'll be fine. It'll work out in the end.
Yasmin tries to put Charlie's mask on. He's too weak to struggle against her. She gets it on him. He breathes.
There is a third climber sitting with them. The climber is in full climbing gear. She stares into space. Charlie looks at the climber. Yasmin is sleeping.
Yasmin and Charlie kiss slowly, gently.
The climber is sitting between Charlie and Yasmin. Yasmin screams hysterically and tries to shield herself from the climber. The climber stares at Yasmin and is motionless.
Yasmin is wearing her oxygen mask and breathing. Charlie is whispering into her ear.
Do you remember? Do you remember? Promise. I've changed my mind.
Guy, Carmen, and our acting company, thank you all so much. So before we move on to the Q&A, we have a bit of housekeeping to do. If you have a ticket for the live Q&A, then you should see a large button on your webpage which says, after performance, click for Q&A. Please pause your live stream now and click to join the Q&A. If you are in the stream-only event, you have the easy bit. You can stay exactly where you are. So once again, if you can see a button which says, after performance, click for Q&A, do press that now. And hopefully what should start happening is people will start arriving in the Zoom room along with me. Hopefully people start appearing soon. If you've just arrived, do stay on mute, but do switch your camera on if you like, so we can see you and wave. And whilst we're waiting for everyone to arrive, do let us know what you thought about the climbers over on Facebook or Twitter at TBTL. We'd love to hear from you. So whilst everyone is arriving, I can't see on my screen, I can only see a handful of people, but I'm hoping that somewhere in cyberspace there's oh yes, new faces, it's happening. Whilst everyone's arriving, I'll say thank you again to everybody that's joined us this evening. Thank you for your support. It's been really wonderful. And we've been really looking forward to seeing your faces appear at this very moment. We know also there's a few hundred others watching who we can't see in the Zoom room right now. There's been a real flurry of ticket sales for this event, which is very exciting. I think people are still arriving and our team's going to let me know once we're getting there. But as I say, we were thrilled that this event initially sold out within 24 hours. So we then went away and tried to find a way to increase the audience, but we also wanted to make sure that the Q&A remained manageable. So hello to everybody that we can't see, but we know you're there. Welcome, welcome. So for people who are joining the Zoom room, we'd encourage you to use speaker view rather than gallery view. It'll just make it easier to pick out the right faces in the crowd. And joining us this evening, we also have Louisa McDade, who is providing live captions for the Q&A. This is something we're testing out this evening for the first time. We're trying to make our work online more accessible, and hopefully our next rehearsed reading will have live captions throughout the event. So welcome, Louisa. Thank you for joining us. So in a moment, I'm going to invite back the company and we'll be kicking off with a few questions that I'd like to ask, but we would love to hear from you too. So if you're in our Zoom room, please put your questions into the chat and our colleague Claire will share them with me. If we come to you for a question, we would love for you to ask it live, but if you'd rather not be on camera, please indicate this in your message and Claire will ask your question for you. When we do come to you, please unmute yourself, and once your question has been answered, please pop yourself back on mute again. So, welcome back, Carmen, Guy, Icky, Mark, Olwyn, Wendy, Catherine, and Amy. I hope you've managed to have a bit of a breather there. I'll kick us off now with a question, which is a question I always ask at our monthly play reading club here at Theatre by the Lake. I know we've got some of that crowd with us tonight. So Carmen, what inspired you to write the play? Where did it come from?
Thanks, Liz. It's a bit of a long answer, so I'll sort of start by saying it's a long answer so you know that there's length. I wrote this play after, it's my third sort of full-length play, and just a shout out to the Finborough Theatre actually, because I'd written a play called Dubai Land, which was about the growth of Dubai and the kind of different people who were there and the migrant labour force and sort of different power dynamics. And they nominated me for a Channel 4 sort of playwriting bursary, and I pitched this play to that, and that's what supported me to write the play initially. So I had a year-long residency at the Finborough, where I wrote the first draft of the play. So when I first sort of came up with the idea, I just finished this play set in Dubai, and I was really sort of thinking about globalization and thinking about place and people's relationship to place. So that's kind of where I started. and I know my brother's watching, I don't want to embarrass him too much, but the kind of the first seed of idea came because my brother climbed Kilimanjaro, and he'd never ever kind of even talked about climbing mountains. It was a really random thing that happened. And so he went and he climbed Kilimanjaro, and I didn't know much about kind of climbing, or especially kind of climbing really big peaks. And when he came back, it was still in the days when people showed pictures sort of on their laptops and everyone sat around looking at holiday photos, and he sort of talked us through the whole journey. So from when they arrived, and I didn't, I knew they'd got to the top, but the kind of storytelling element of it was really powerful, and it really struck me. And he went with his best friend, and there was sort of like tensions in their relationship, and they had one of, he kind of was there for the journey, but the friend was there to get to the top. And yeah, and there was pictures, and there was the guide and the relationship. And then he spoke about the porters as well. So there was loads of porters supporting them, cooking their meals, setting up their tents, and kind of, he was a bit uncomfortable with that. And that was where the kind of seed of the idea came. And I basically thought, what if a couple climbs a mountain to save their relationship, and that mountain is Kilimanjaro? Because I think quite a few people tend to climb Kilimanjaro as a sort of like charity thing or bucket list thing. That was the seed of the idea. I also was really interested in like what a mountain might look like dramaturgically. So as you go up further, if altitude becomes an element along with time and space, what that might look like. So those were the original seeds. And then I started sort of researching quite deeply, and Kilimanjaro just wasn't dramatic enough, and Everest just seemed way more dramatic. And the final sort of piece of the puzzle was I read an article in the newspaper, and it was there was I don't know, it wasn't like a news story, it was more like a sort of opinion piece, but there was a picture of a body that was frozen on Everest, called Green Boots, and you can look it up if you're not squeamish. Green Boots is one of the 200 bodies stuck on Everest still, in what they call Rainbow Valley, and that he's used as a marker. And it shocked me. I kind of couldn't believe that was true. And so I started researching more, and the sort of politics of Everest, and the politics of who gets to climb and why, and how much money it costs. And then I started looking into the history of Everest, and the history of sort of imperialism and colonialism, British imperialism, colonialism, as well as European. So there was lots of Belgian and French groups going out to the Himalayas and mapping it, surveying it, and then attempting to climb it. So no one had climbed mountains of this height until these expeditions. And so that really interested me, because it was about place, and about our relationship as human beings, and our nationalities, and power, and who gets to tell what story. So I read a lot of sort of accounts of those times in the early kind of 30s and 40s of the expeditions, which kind of have quite troubling ethics, but are also quite beautiful. And so that was the space that I was in for quite a while, collecting. And then the characters slowly started emerging. And it was basically the idea was, Yasmin and Charlie go up the mountain, only one comes back, and the idea is you try and figure out why. So that's a kind of summary of the play journey.
It's fascinating. Thank you, Carmen. Thank you. And Guy, what drew you to Carmen's play? Where did it kind of happen for you?
I first read this play when I do a lot of work trying to find, encourage, champion, platform new writers, and Carmen applied for a program that I was running, and she sent this play, and I read it, and I immediately, my heart started racing about this person I'd never met, and how she'd written such an ambitious and epic play. So frequently people's early plays are not nearly as ambitious as this, and it has this kind of epic feeling about who people are in relationship to the landscape that they find themselves in, but also this kind of, much more universal story at the center of this extraordinary story about grief, and about what it is like to lose somebody, what it is like to love somebody. And that felt like totally unique. The play also chimed with my love of mountains, which I fell in love with mountains in the Lake District, where you are, Liz. And I immediately had to give Carmen a ring and just say, this play, it makes my heart sing in a way that is just amazing. So that's how I fell in love with The Climbers.
Thank you. Wow. And that's a really special thing, isn't it? When you have that, when you read a play and you instantly have that connection. And I think it in a very different way, but when it was actually Guy that brought this play to my attention, and that thrill, that bit of excitement in thinking, what might this be at Theatre by the Lake? So yeah, the little thrill of excitement passes on. Thank you. Right, that's a great start. But I think now we should hand over to the audience. So Claire, do we have any questions?
Yes, we do. We've got loads of great questions, actually. So the first one I will read on behalf of Adrian, who asks, and I think this is for everybody, what was the experience like rehearsing and acting on Zoom with things like time delays, etc.? It worked really well.
Shall I start? Zoom isn't the natural platform for a play set on the biggest mountain in the world. So I think that was how I started rehearsals 3 days ago. I mean, one of the most amazing things is that our company come from all over the country. And so, to be able to come together quite so swiftly and easily with relative little disruption to our lives is kind of amazing. I'm really curious to know from the cast what it feels like, what it's been like in the last year to perform on Zoom. Can I hand to Amy, maybe?
Hi. So what's it been like? Gosh, it's been really weird because you've had to learn how to work with Zoom. So the first time I ever did any rehearsed reading, I literally had boxes of things with an iPad on and then a light, and then it was a mess until I realized you can just minimize Zoom so you can actually look at the person you're talking to as well as the script. But also the good thing is because I'm actually a visually impaired actor, it's kind of great in a way that I can see the script on the screen because because it's lit. Normally I'd have the light on it. So yeah, that's it's weird, but it's great that it's been working. So I'll pass on to somebody else.
We've been very well set up with some equipment by the Theatre by the Lake team. I've spent the entire lockdown having a terrible internet connection and freezing during meetings. You were sent some kind of wire that fixes that, which I'm not sending back to you. I don't know, does anyone else have a reflection on what it's been like to work on Zoom? Icky, what have you made of it?
I think it's bittersweet, bit mixed bag. It's really nice to be able to pop off on a 10-minute break and have a quick shower or something, just relax and turn my camera off and get my tea and then come back very quickly. So all the luxuries of being at home is new, but if people actors will all agree, there's that bodies in the space that we miss. So I do miss kind of prancing around in a space and thinking on my feet, and kind of exploring what the text does to movement and body and what comes out of that. So it's a mixed bag. A lot of opportunity for direct comforts and contact, but again, yeah, I think Theatre by the Lake did a great job with the IT pack. That was sick. There's lighting, webcams.
This IT pack is going to become famous. We're going to get. If there's anyone watching this now who's thinking of doing an event, we're going to get requests for this IT pack.
Changing the game.
I think it's been bittersweet for us in the theatre as well. That getting ready for this event has been fantastic for the whole team to work together. on an event that's live, and it's given us a buzz actually and a real boost. But it is bittersweet because the plan was for this event that we were supposed to be doing it here in the theatre. So it's bittersweet at the moment, but I think that there's some great things as well with working on Zoom, in that it's actually, we're able to share this event with people more widely that might not otherwise be able to come to the theatre. So there's been some fantastic things with it as well from our point of view. Claire, do we have any questions from anyone else?
Yes, absolutely. They're actually flooding in. So that's brilliant. We've got loads of questions. We'll go to Amy Clues next, if that's all right. If you want to unmute, and you had some questions, I think.
Hi there. Thanks so much, guys. That was absolutely brilliant. I really enjoyed it. I was just wondering, it was so fantastic to see such complex characters, because I still, at the end of Act 1, I don't know who I like, who I don't like, who I trust, who I don't trust. And I just wondered what the actors thought about their own character that they were playing. Do you like them? Would they be your friend in real life? Did you feel a connection with them? Thank you.
Can I send that one to Kat, first of all?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm going to say that I think that Yasmin is great, and I will defend her. But I agree. I think you're absolutely right. You don't know whether to trust her, or what she's saying, and or also whether to like her. I think I really admire the way that Carmen has written somebody who I think is very strong-willed, and one of those people that can, maybe without realizing it, change the atmosphere in a room in a way that, with just like one quick line, they're quite sharp, and the no apology factor. I think that's, yeah, written really beautifully, and I, mainly because I have quite a few friends like that, maybe I'm like, I can understand it, so I sort of sympathize with it. So yeah, I'm going to just defend Yasmin, but I totally understand that she's very complex. And also, we meet her at a time in her life when, and all of them in a time in their life when they're battling with something, grappling with, yeah, I'm going to steal a phrase, their inner Everest, their inner mountain, I think, yeah. So I'm just going to agree that the complexity of the characters is difficult, but it makes it so interesting. I actually struggled with this because I was thinking there's so many ways that Yasmin could play, that you could play each scene. So, but that's a gift. That's great to be able to sort of really delve into it and have to sort of fight for what you think might be the right choice.
I think really importantly, it's a memory play. It's a play about what the altitude does to your sense of what is true and what is not true. And so the versions that people play of themselves, are skewed by the circumstances they're in, or it's skewed by what they can remember having happened. And Carmen and I read in lots of accounts of climbing Everest when people can't quite place in order the events that happen. So she ain't a baddie. I wonder, Wendy, what do you make of Connie? We've had good chats.
I think she's rather lovely as she continues to grow on her journey. Would I be Connie's mate? I think I'd love to, but I think she'd stand me up a lot. She'd always have like, I'm working tonight, I'll buy you a pint next time. But yeah, it's been really lovely to learn more about the kind of mountain world in Everest, because she's an investigator, and it's been sort of a discovery for me to realize that so many of the sort of real world rules just don't apply in the mountain world, and Connie's struggle to investigate this case is sort of met with imaginary and magical roadblocks. Yeah, so it was great.
Amazing. Should we do another question?
Yes. Do we have any more?
Yes, so we've had quite a few questions about the setting, about the the fact that it's in Everest, on Everest, and the surroundings. So we'll go to Lexi Ward next.
Are you there, Lexi? Can you unmute yourself?
My bad. That better?
Yeah,
there we go. Always have to jiggle the microphone wire. This is just a question for Guy. This is a script of a lot of these flash scene transitions that almost feel like wind whipping up on Everest and how quickly they fly. And I was just wondering how you envisaged that working on stage, like balancing the need for that quickness against maintaining the vastness of the mountain and these constantly changing locations.
That's a question from a theatre director. I think what was really important, I mean, it's no secret that we were ready to go with this play about this time last year. So we'd worked out how we were going to do it, and it was really important that that none of the locations could be literal in the design. And so we knew we weren't going to build Everest, but we also knew we weren't going to build any hotel rooms or Celia's kitchen. And so what I feel like Max Johns, the designer, might be on this call somewhere. We kept using as a phrase that we were designing Yasmin's kind of inner emotional landscape. Nice. Wendy's phrase is better, her inner Everest. So therefore we were kind of in this quite abstract space that could shift, could move. People could just come into the space and move away from the space, because it is a dream play, it's a memory play. So there was nothing literal about what we were planning to do. As I said before, we kind of see the world through Yasmin's eyes, and she isn't a reliable narrator of anything that happens. So that's what I think Carmen's up to with this kind of slippery, what's real and what isn't real. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Thanks, Lexi. Who's next, Claire?
Okay, let's go over to Rodney, if you wouldn't mind unmuting and asking your question.
Yes, I'm here. Thank you. Yes, I couldn't help but thinking, this is for Carmen, really, about the Touching the Void, which is a story about Simon Yates and Joe Edwards. Anyway, and the staging of that. And I was just wondering whether you, in writing this, had drawn any inspiration, or it was in the back of your mind, that story, because it deals with a lot with what is real and what is not real, what's in the imagination, a lot of hallucination in it.
Yeah, no, I remember seeing in the morning, scrolling through the news and seeing that announced that Touching the Void is going to become a stage show before this had been programmed, and I was like, no, someone got there first, damn it. And it's David Greig who wrote that, who adapted that, who's much more sort of successful and a playwright who's been around for kind of a few decades. Yeah, no, I've seen Touching the Void years and years ago, and I read a couple of books by different climbers who had been involved in different types of accidents on Everest. So I definitely drew inspiration from those accounts, and any account of Everest or of a climb. Or not Everest, because actually there's lots of other mountains on the range. Everest happens to be the highest mountain, but also happens to be one of the easiest to climb, which is really handy. But there's other mountains that are like 100 meters less or 200 meters less that are harder to climb, like K2 and Annapurna. And I read quite a few accounts of climbers who'd sort of faced moral dilemmas. And in fact, they really drew me to want to write a story like this. Because what really fascinated me was some of the reading I did around altitude sickness, and basically once you're over, I think it's 22,000 feet, the level of oxygen is unsafe for human existence, and so your brain actually goes through brain damage. And there's sort of different theories around what that does to you, and some people believe that that changes your personality and it changes your ethics. So a lot of climbers believe that what happens up there, the rules are different because it's a different space. It's got different even natural rules. So absolutely, and like the hallucinations are something I read about in accounts from the very early attempts from the 1930s. All the way through to very recent accounts. So it's not something that's new, it's something that's existed in very, very early climbs as well. So all that was completely present in a lot of my research and a lot of the inspiration. However, I think this is just the first act. There's obviously a second act, and I guess it's I sometimes describe this as like an anti-climbing play, but not because I don't like climbing. I believe climbing is a good thing, and especially sort of climbing like Snowdonia or all the lovely mountains in the Lake District. But I think there's something about why people think that they can climb Everest and why they should go so high, and why we celebrate that I guess I'm interested in questioning and probing. So yeah, I hope that answers the question. It's a bit of a ramble.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rodney.
Ideas to explore.
Thanks, Rodney. Claire.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've got time for probably a couple more. So we've got a question that's come in via the chat, which is for Carmen. Did you learn anything from this week that will influence the development of the play?
Oh my God, so many things, which is like really great, but also quite frustrating because you know, there's always the question of like, when is a play finished? And it kind of never is. And usually what ends it is that you have a production and you kind of just have to make decisions. And so it's been sort of a blessing to have more time. But also there's difficulties in that because you sort of like, you get a bit inside your own head. So Guy and I sat down in October, I think, when we were kind of allowed to meet for work purposes. And we had a really amazing 3 days where we just went through scene by scene and really dug into everything. And then I wrote another draft, which is like draft 7, I think, around that, or 8. And this is the draft we read. And then having actors in a room is just a whole other sort of amazing world, because suddenly you have people who bring a different craft to the table, a different way of looking at things, very character driven. And yeah, the cast have been absolutely amazing. It's not just been about this performance, it's been about their insight, their energy, their sort of input throughout the last 3 days, just sort of exploring the text and hearing their responses. Sometimes there's a lot of things that have been sort of like confirmed. So people have fed back certain ideas or concepts or things I've tried to achieve, and I'm like, oh great, they got that, or they got that feeling. And then there's been other things that have been really interesting. So one thing that's been interesting was the cast actually got a previous draft, which Connie's character had a sort of different thing going on. You know, with the phone calls at home, there was a different kind of storyline for her. And so Wendy had read both drafts, which is amazing. And she had kind of quite a few thoughts on that, which were really helpful. And we had some really deep discussions about maybe going back to that draft or what bits we could take, and sort of really interrogating the emotions at the heart of the story. Actors are great with emotions. I sometimes feel like I'm not so character driven when I write, and actors really help bring that to the surface. So yeah, I've learned so much, especially about Connie's character, also about Yasmin and Charlie's relationship, and where there might be gaps in what we see, and Chering's monologues. So yeah, we've really done a lot of exploring. So thank you guys.
Thanks, Carmen. No, it's lovely that with an event like this, whether you do it in theatre or digitally or however you do it, it's just really nice to be able to let audiences into that process, because otherwise it's so easy for it to be so, behind closed doors, and all the audience ever get is that finished product. And I wonder, if anybody that's here this evening gets to see a live production here at Theatre by the Lake one day, whether their experience of the show will be different to someone who's kind of meeting it cold. Great. Claire, I think you said we've got time for one more.
Yeah, actually what you've just been talking about leads really nicely into what I think is probably our last question, which there's a lot of people asking, saying, when can we see the second half? What are the future plans for the play? When can we see the rest of the story?
So that's probably one coming my way, isn't it? So as you know, we were supposed to put this on the main stage at Theatre by the Lake last year. And in terms of what happens next, we're still very much working it out. We've been really busy here at Theatre by the Lake thinking about what 22-23 year might look like, and what the next 5 years might look like, and that's all very exciting. But we're kind of putting that together at the moment, and lots taking the opportunity, I suppose, that although everything that's happened with COVID has been extremely challenging for everyone in all kinds of different ways, it's given us the opportunity to really embrace change and think about how we do things differently, and how we make work here at the theatre, and how we bring our communities into the work that we make in the theatre, how we go out into communities. There's been so much that we've been looking at, and it's still very much up in the air, really. We've got plans, and absolutely those plans will be informed by events like this, speaking to our audiences, speaking to our communities. It's going to be an evolving thing. But we will keep everybody updated with those plans. I love this play, and I was so excited that it was part of what would have been my first season at Theatre by the Lake as the artistic director. So I certainly have a real connection to it. So I would love to make it happen. But at the moment, we've kind of got a shape to the next few years, but nothing firmed up. So watch this space is all I would say. Watch this space. So I think that's probably the end of our Q&A. That's all we've got time for. I realised we could have gone on for ages. Thank you all for coming and joining us tonight. Do check out the rest of the Spark programme on our website. We have something for everyone, from the Chronicles of Atom and Luna, which is a series of audio tales for children and grown-ups too, and an interactive fairy tale game to play at home, which is lots of fun. We also have Open Space, our Scratch Night, showcasing performances from Cumbrian theatre makers, and The Picture of Dorian Gray, which is a new digital production created by a host of brilliant theatres and some well-known actors such as Stephen Fry and Joanna Lumley. So there's something on there for everyone. And we've also got 2 more rehearsed readings just like this lined up for April and May. All the details are on the website, and there's much more to be announced along the way too. I'd like to say thank you again to the Theatre by the Lake team behind the scenes making this work, and to Louisa for our captions. And finally, a massive thank you to the incredibly talented actors and creatives working on this event this week. I hope you enjoyed their reading this evening as much as I did. As we've touched on this evening at various points, this has been an extraordinarily challenging year for our industry, and we need the support of our audiences more than ever. We have hundreds of thousands of incredibly talented freelancers who've been without work since last March and not taken to the stage in our theatres where they belong, like this space now where I'm sat here on my own. So please do keep supporting the arts, keep supporting your local theatres, and coming back when it's safe to do so. And on that note, we're going to take the opportunity to give everybody involved tonight a virtual round of applause, especially to Carmen, Guy, Icky, Mark, Alwyn, Wendy, Catherine and Amy. So we'll do one of those, some silent claps. Good night, everyone, and hope to see you again soon.
Bye, everyone.
Wow. Can't get out. Yeah, sorry.
Hello, everybody. Just so you all are aware, we've still got a few participants just making their way out of the room. Thank you.